We open up this blockbuster edition of Dynamite with the FTW Championship match between Hook and Jack Perry, otherwise known as Stephen Hyde now. We've all seen the meme. Jack comes out to some classical music as opposed to the usual class music like Baltimora. Rather fitting that AEW is sponsored by Shark Week, considering all the predators that they've had in their locker room. I'm looking at you, Marty Skrull. There's a beautiful T-bone suplex from Hook to Perry that takes both men to the floor. Looked and sounded like a nasty bump. I think Perry actually kicks the camera on his way down. Perry channels his inner Viper and hits a draping DDT. Shout out to Randy Orton, hope he's doing well. Hook hits maybe the best German suplex I have ever seen. This match is brutal in the right way, where both guys are safe but the moves look and feel impactful. The ref takes a bump which allows Perry to hit Hook with the title and get the win. Jack Perry is the 6th ever FTW champion. Up next, it's everyone's favourite wrestling sitcom, Better Than You Baby, with MJF and Adam Cole. They're in action against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara in the Blind Eliminator Tag Tournament. I still think it's bollocks that Sammy and Danny got teamed together, but what do I know. Jericho's on commentary as the biggest babyface team in wrestling. MJF and Cole make their entrance in matching gear. We get a dance-off for some reason at the start of the match. I thought I was watching Boogie Nights for a minute there, but it was brilliant fun. After years of teasing, MJF finally does a tope to the outside in a moment that gets the whole crowd on their feet. Big pop from me. Another big pop as MJF and Cole finally hit the double clothesline, and they pin Daniel Garcia to win the tournament. Both Garcia and Guevara go up the ramp where Chris Jericho is applauding them, but they ditch him because they're obviously angry about losing. Adam Cole glares at the title belt a little too long for MJF's liking though after the match, and the two have a small argument before hugging it out, but clearly MJF's face shows that he's upset. Out come FTR to confront their next challengers. It's now time for the main event. It's blood and guts between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Golden Elite. Here are the rules. 2 men enter the cage for one 5-minute round. Every 3 minutes, another participant enters. Blood and Guts match officially begins after all 10 men have entered the cage. The winning team is determined by making any opponent submit or surrender. So, as you can see, it's basically just war games. Claudio Castagnoli and Kenny Omega start us off. These matches are usually pretty formulaic until everyone is in the match. The heels keep the number advantage and keep beating down the faces until everyone is out, and then the real fun begins. The first notable spot of the match comes with Jon Moxley's introduction as he attacks Hangman Page and Kenny Omega with a fork. Renee's probably seething that her cutlery keeps going missing. Mox then introduces Broken Glass, which everybody ends up rolling around in. They're all just fun like that. Claudio takes a Hurricane Rana into it, Nick Jackson gets stomped into his chest, and then Kenny gets suplexed into it by Mox and Claudio. For anyone who wants to talk about how fake wrestling is, there's glass coming out of Kenny Omega's back. Tell me you want to take that. You can't. Taz and Excalibur making jokes about how much Moxley loves to bleed. Now, I'm not saying he bleeds a lot, but I've seen lamb slaughter with less bloodshed than Mox every Wednesday. Moxley then introduces a bed of nails to the match, like an absolute psychopath that he is. Who even builds these things? Where'd you find them? Kenny takes a shotgun dropkick into the nails and then gets scraped up by it falling on him. Just when you thought that was too much, Kenny then gets body slammed into the nails, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. By God, they killed Kenny! It's time for Kota Ibushi to make his AEW debut. A cool moment for sure. My personal favourite visual from the match was Moxley crushing Kenny's hand on the nails while flipping off Kota. It was so badass. Moxley knows his character so well. Mox ends up dropped on the nails by Ibushi before he takes a standing moonsault on the nails. His back is pouring blood at this point from both his head and the bed of nails. Matt Jackson empties a bag of tacks through the ceiling, which Pac and Claudio end up covered in. It wouldn't be blood and guts without some thumbtacks. John Mox also ends up in the tacks. Jesus Christ, how much more can these lads do to each other on national television? After an accidental uppercut from Claudio, Pac walks out in the BCC. To anyone who watched it, how good were those bolt cutters? It snapped the chain like butter. That was insane. At the request of Don Callis, Takeshita also walks out on the BCC, leaving the Elite to take the numbers advantage. They handcuff Jon Moxley to the ropes. They then target Wheeler Yuta and torture him, and it's not really clear who gives up in the match for the BCC, but the BCC do surrender, and the Elite win. Overall, I thought this was a really good show. It didn't have a lot of segments, but the segments that they did do were really good, which is what we've become accustomed to with AEW's television specials, such as Blood and Guts, the Quake in the Lake one where they had Moxley against Jericho. It's just become something that I look forward to whenever they do these. It makes the television more interesting, and I think they need it, especially when they don't have as many pay-per-views. In my opinion though, it's painted the Blackpool Combat Club as the babyfaces because their partners turned on them. They ended up at the numbers disadvantage at the end. John Moxley was handcuffed to the ropes, helpless to help his friend and brother that he cared so much about. It just came off to me as heelish from the Elite's perspective. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but yeah, that was my thoughts on this. So if you enjoyed my coverage, definitely leave a like, subscribe, leave comments on how I can improve, and thanks for listening to me.